All right, let's do it, Jack.
Thanks, Adam.
All
Appreciate it.
right. Hey, welcome everybody. We really appreciate you joining us for this special webinar from Upper Crust Food Service and College Fresh. We were trying to come up with names for this, and we decided clearing the plate,
Yeah, I like that.
sort of like a transparent conversation with Adam and Jack.
Yep.
So, with that being said, for those of you, most of you probably on this call know who we are, but we'll go ahead and do introductions. So, Jack, you want to introduce yourself
Yep,
first?
absolutely. Jack Dawson, formerly president and owner of College Fresh, now president and owner with Upper Crust and Adam Guy.
Yep. And I am Adam, and I'm the CEO of Upper Crust Food Service. And we're just really excited that you guys joined us today. So thank you for doing that. In addition to this being live right now, we will also be recording this and being able to send this out. So if any of you have corporation board members, house directors, students that you'd like to have answers to some of these questions, feel free to distribute this in any way that you would like so that everybody can get access to this information. And I think the purpose of this webinar is really to address anything that might be out there in the market right now, right? Because we understand that when we do something like an acquisition, there's going to be a lot of questions, right? There's going to be a lot of concerns that come up, whether it be from employees, from industry partners, from our individual partners, and so we really want to be transparent. We want to put all of our cards out on the table, and as the title of this says, we just want to clear the plate today and make sure that we give you a chance to ask whatever questions you have. So I believe there's a Q&A option at the bottom of the webinar. And so if you can enter your questions there, our team will be working hard on making sure that they deliver those to us. So Meg, our communications manager, is here with us today. And so you'll hear her voice kind of come over here as she's asking us questions as we get going in this. So we appreciate your participation, and no questions are off limits. We really want it to be a transparent conversation today.
Yeah.
Anything you'd
No, that was key for me. Adam actually said to me early on in this process that we have to remember that this acquisition and partnership really put our competitors in a position where they had to respond, and we don't behoove them from doing what they feel like they have to do. But also, we do feel like there are some misconceptions. So we don't want this to be scripted as much as we prepared for this introduction. We do really prefer that this be a question and answer instead of us just staring at the camera and talking to you all. So again, a quick reminder that as we do this, we do want to make sure that we're answering all the questions. We might think we know, I know, he knows, we won't. So this will not be the last attempt, as we said on our first kind of updated webinar that was thrown together so quickly the last time around. We are going to continue to do these, wanting to give everybody in this space an opportunity to ask these questions and get the answers they want. And again, I'll just reiterate what Adam said. Please feel free to participate by throwing those questions into the chat. My dear friend Megan, our communications manager, will be reviewing those and kind of calling them out for Adam and I as we go through. So that's all I got. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and we're actually going to do some more of these, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
we have come up with the idea of kind of doing like a podcast series
Yep.
that we're going to be launching. So that'll be a series of podcasts that just to continue along the lines of the transparency and just making sure that as new things come up, that we continue to be able to answer those questions. So we've already lost Jack's mic.
My gosh.
But
Yeah.
no worries.
Here we go. This humanizes me a little bit. Oh my gosh, Joe. Go ahead, Adam. I'm good.
You're good. All right.
Go
Like
ahead.
on the inside, we hope you could hear his
That's
heart
good.
beating as that because we are passionate
Oh
about
my
the
gosh,
industry
they
down
can
there,
hear
right?
how excited I am. That's proof. Goodness gracious.
So forthcoming, you'll be getting information about the podcast series that's coming up, and so what I'd like to do to start off before we open it up for questions, and like Jack said, the main reason for doing this is to open it up to your questions, so that this is not scripted. This is something that is really free flowing from information that you would like answered. We wanted to talk a little bit about the background and how this came to be, and so let's kind of take it back to the beginning, Jack, of
Sure.
when we first started talking, because this has actually been an ongoing conversation for a long time
Yep.
that you and I have had, kind of, even if it's been jokingly over time.
I think of like conversations at MJ or FEA, or like we just spent time at the Gamma Phi Beta conference this last weekend, and where we'd all meet together, not just Adam and I, but me and Brian Gill. I'll say, hey, let's just have some crazy conversations about what this industry might look like in a few years. What does Greek food service look like in a few years? And there was always these ideas, and I even had conversations with some people in the partnership space that said, well, they see things going in this type of direction. So honestly, it was like an idea, but just never thought it would happen. Never thought I would be interested about it. A lot of you on this call probably hear me say I would never want to do anything like this. But then Adam reached out last summer while we were going through some family business consulting conversations. It kind of just seemed like the timing was meant to be. We were in a space to actually listen and hear. And he made an inquiry into us about purchasing College Fresh and partnering with me that really allowed me to take it seriously. So I don't want to take over your whole
Yep.
part here about why you were looking at it, but for me, it just kind of happened. Never saw it coming. It just kind of organically came together and was something that we were obviously very interested in. So
And I think on the upper crust side, we've done a few acquisitions now, and with every acquisition, our company has become more talented, right? We've been able to gather additional talent from the companies that we've acquired. We've been able to take best practices
yep.
from each company that we've acquired, and we become a better company each time because we've incorporated these great things from these other companies. And when I looked at what Jack had built at College Fresh, and especially his just unwavering commitment to client success, it was really, really inspiring to me. And I thought it was something that we could really add to our upper crust model. That would be a really great addition to what it was that we were offering. And so as we started talking through this, Jack and I started getting really excited because we started thinking about, okay, on the upper crust side, we've done a really good job of building a business, right? We've done a really good job of doing all of the business things that make the business work really, really well.
Yep.
We put out good food, right? We've hired good employees. We've done all those things that you have to do as a food service company as well. When my entrepreneurship background, very focused on the business side of things and how can we grow this business and be able to do a great job for as many people as we can. Whereas I think, your company at College Fresh,
Kind of the opposite in a lot of ways. If I was going to
yeah,
I want to talk about growing College Fresh. I feel like I was really comfortable with partnerships and what our partners wanted to see and what we could provide for them. But I don't have any of that background and experience in terms of growing a company and what that looks like or doing that the right way. So again, when we get to this point where we were with the number of partnerships that we were offering, the idea of someone that has that knowledge and can help us not only take what we have been doing well, but also just make those improvements as we grow. That it's honestly just been refreshing for me to focus on what I know. So I
yeah.
just wanted to use that as a reason why it does make sense for me and for the College Fresh side of things too.
Yeah.
So,
And I think this is like, if you almost think like a marriage, right? Finding like this perfect marriage of somebody's strengths and then somebody's weaknesses.
yep.
And not, or not, I wouldn't say weaknesses as much
You
as
can say it.
opportunities,
You can say
right?
weaknesses. Yeah.
But I think that like we really complement each other well.
Yeah,
And
I
the
think
other
so.
thing I think that we want people to know, and at least I can speak for myself and allow you to speak for yourself, but like I really enjoy working with Jack.
Yep.
And
So
we've gotten
far.
along really well. Yeah. And I think that we really complement each other well. And so we're really looking forward to kind of how this moves forward.
Yep.
So you had mentioned some misconceptions, and I think the big monkey in the room, I think we're just going to jump right into the
Go
first
ahead, please.
misconception
Yep.
before we open it up for questions. Um, there's a misconception out there that's kind of been pushed around
Yep.
that Upper Crust is owned by an investment firm, that we are controlled by an investment firm,
Yep.
that we don't actually make decisions on the ground, that an investment firm makes all of our decisions,
Yep.
and that we don't have the flexibility to make those decisions
I should
on
also
our
jump
own.
in and say like that. I was saying that too, because that was what was knowledge in the industry at the time, right? So, admitting my just misinformation there or mistake in that process. Sorry to interrupt, but
No.
I mean that was there, and I think still is there. So I hope it helps when I'm talking to everybody in the industry or our partners to say that now being a part of it and like legally had to see all of that information, that there is a partner there, but they make no operational decisions. They make no strategy decisions. They're just there to help. But I'm sure you'll go into more of that. So
Yeah.
I'll hush up now. But just speaking from my perspective, it's absolutely just not true. And I'm happy to share that with everybody. So
Yeah.
please go
And so
ahead.
the way that we structured the business when we decided that it was time for us to start growing was we brought on a minority investment partner. The name is Copley Equity Partners,
Yeah.
and Copley has a wonderful group of teams, a group of team or team of people, sorry, that are there that support us, and they have been absolutely wonderful partners of ours. We've got a gentleman named Jan there who does a lot of business strategies, has so much background around business and building things. And what's cool about this investment firm is that a lot of people think that investment firms are just in it for profit. And the reality with this is that this investment firm, they saw Upper Crust Food Service and they saw an opportunity to help us grow in a very fragmented industry, right? And basically what they did was they believed in me as an entrepreneur. And I think that that is really the thing that is the takeaway from this is that they have no control over the company, right? I control the board. Jack and I control all the decisions at the local level. And so they're really there and they put their full support behind this company, knowing that we could decide to go sell sneakers tomorrow. And there's nothing that they could do about that. We could probably design a pretty cool sneaker.
Yeah, not that we ever would. No, but
No, we're
yes.
not going to do that, but I think we could design a cool sneaker. And that's not our plan, but the reality is like we could do that if we wanted to. And so their investment is really just a buy-in in me as Adam, as an entrepreneur, and a buy-in in Jack as an entrepreneur and an operator. And so they have our back and they bring us resources. And what's great for us is that when things come up that are bigger than what a small business can handle, we have people there that can give us resources, right? We have people there that can give us advice. We have people there that can kind of help us navigate some of the potholes of growing your business and becoming an industry leader. And so they've been a really great partner of ours, but it's really important that everybody knows that they don't control any decision that we make, and that we're able to make all these decisions at the ground level. I think the other thing that's important before we go to questions is this idea that, well, what's really going to happen to Jack,
Yep.
right? And so let's talk a little bit about that. When I approached you and I basically said, Jack, we'd be interested in Upper Crust acquiring College Fresh,
Yep.
our discussions really didn't take steam, right? Or they didn't
Yep.
really come together until we started talking about the opportunity for you to stay on
Yep.
and be an owner in this new entity.
Yeah,
That.
early on, it just kind of felt like I was sharing information with my sister Annie and my brother Tom because I felt it was a responsibility. Like if someone makes you this offer, you have to present it to them. I didn't want them to feel like I was gatekeeping any of that information. So I'd share the information, we'd discuss it for a little bit, but it never really felt like anything that was going to happen until we started having the conversation of what I wanted to do afterwards. And I was able to talk to you about, well, I'm 38 years old. This is all I have ever done is work in Greek food service, and that I don't plan on or want to be done with that right now. I feel like I've got a lot of value I can deliver. I feel like I've got a lot of great partnerships, both internally with the College Fresh team and externally with all of our wonderful client partners across the country. And when I realized that you were open to that, and again, we first have a conversation, you tell me you're open to it, and I don't know you that well at the time. I'm like, okay, great, yeah, sure, whatever. Let's see if that actually holds true. And the longer we got into those conversations, the deeper we got into those conversations, I started to realize that, yes, you did want me on as president and owner, not just a face for the clients to sign contracts and see me to leave. And I think a big part of that misconception, and even what some people in the industry or our competitors might be saying, comes down to what they have seen from the previous two acquisitions. So I wanted to touch on that for a little bit. The tragic part is with College Chefs and that acquisition was the fact that that owner had passed away, and they were operating without that owner leader there. And it just made sense to the board and the trust that ran College Chefs for something like that to happen. It was kind of a natural, just unfortunate situation. The other one, Mr. Bill Reeder, who I had a lot of respect for and have talked to over the years about the ideas of this type of things happening in the future, he was ready to retire. He was ready to move on. He's got kids traveling across the country, hockey tournaments, and everything else that happens out there, and is living his best life right now. So that worked and made sense for him. So he didn't have any interest in doing that. He had built a great company that was serving the industry for a number of years. So this is the first time that you have reached out about something like this happening where you had someone who wanted to stay on and wanted to be a part of this. So I just wanted to kind of paint that picture for everybody so they understood. Again, it's not just me saying this, that this is all I've ever known. And when Adam started talking to me about running the company, I said, that all sounds very exciting, but I just have to be honest with you. I don't know how to run this any other way than how we have run it in the past. And again, Adam has been nothing but supportive from the get-go. He believes in my vision for how we do take care of and treat our partners. So I just wanted to get the chance to say that out. Again, be happy to answer any further questions there. So I also just want to point out the really cool thing that I have seen is working with leaders from Campus Cooks, with leaders from College Chefs, with leaders from Upper Crust. It is a really cool dynamic, especially now that our leaders from College Fresh get to come in too. There's still a lot of stuff we got to work through, right? As we look at how this shapes out across the country, we're not going to rush that, but there is a pool of really awesome talent and leadership that I'm just excited to to start to throw out there for our partners.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, how cool is our future when we think about we've been able to take the very best minds from all of, 4 different companies now
yep,
across the industry and pool them together.
yep,
And so the ideas that come out of that think tank versus each of us trying to do this individually,
yep.
I really think it's going to benefit our.
Because there are a lot of differences, right? And we want to find the best ones. We want to find the ones that our partners want to see that the industry needs and use that. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
cool.
So I hope that gives you a little bit of background. And so what we'd like to do right now is we're going to open this up for questions. I hope a few of you have been able to throw some questions into the Q&A. So we're going to go ahead and just dive right into that right now and
Yep.
just be as transparent as we can and answer these as they come in.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Food service is a very important part of Greek housing. I understand contract prices were going to stay the same. How are you going to deal with increasing food costs? How will this change budgets and maintain the same quality of food?
Sure. I'll let Adam handle that
Yeah,
one
sure.
first. Yeah.
I think it's a great question. Budgets are a huge part. Obviously, we realize that upper crust in College Fresh is going to be the biggest line item that most corporation boards and national offices are going to see for an individual chapter. And so we take that responsibility really seriously. And one of the things that we're really excited about is as we pull these companies together, there are natural synergies that occur. And so what that does is that does 2 things. One, it allows us to be really, really competitive when it comes on price, right? And so we're looking to pass those types of things on to our customers. And so this idea that, hey, there's an investment firm associated with Upper Crust, and so their only goal is to make more profit. Everybody's goal, every competitor that we have, their goal is to make profit, right? We're not in this as a non-for-profit. And so I think that's important to note that profit isn't necessarily a bad thing. But what we want to do is we want to be really responsible with that. And so as we grow, we are really committed to being responsible with keeping our prices really, really competitive
Yep.
in the market. And so we're going to have more buying power as we combine our resources together. We're committed to making sure that we have transparency in our contracts so that everybody knows, if there ever is a price increase for some reason, we think we're going to be able to hedge that way more than we could have as 2 individuals.
Definitely more than we ever could have. And, I also, when we start talking about pricing, I want to make sure that I never talk as like if we're trying to be cheap. We always want to provide the best absolute value for our partners out there. And I just think that that's something we're able to do because we know that, hey, these are 1-year contracts, right? You have the opportunity every single year to move to a different direction. So cheap is fine and it looks good on paper. But if we get into this school year and your students are frustrated, the parents are emailing you, you're getting messages all the time, you're working more than you ever thought you'd have to on food service, and we're failing, and that cheap doesn't matter. So we want to make sure that we're combining the quality along with that value there. So,
And I think to that point, when you look at if our price is the same as a competitor's price, when you think about all these things that we are able to pull together as a company, to your point on value, you're getting a lot of value from this combined company.
yep,
If apples are compared to apples,
yep,
there's so many extra fringe benefits that are going to be happening, I think, at
Sure.
Upper Crust moving forward because we brought all this talent together,
Yep.
because we have this increased density, way more management, right?
absolutely.
More resources to do more innovation when it comes to technology as the students are changing the way they communicate, and we have
Yep.
to stay on the cutting edge of that. So all of these things are things that we have plans for and plan to roll out. And so we're excited about that.
Yep.
So great question on that. We hope that you find us continuing to be transparent and really competitive when it comes to price.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on 1 second.
No problem. While Meg's looking for questions. Okay.
Right. I have a site where we are so happy with the chef that we have given him bonuses ourselves to show that we want him back year to year. How will
Absolutely.
you work to retain our chefs?
I'm going to assume that that's someone coming from the College Fresh perspective, Meg. They can chime in and let us know if they're not. Uh, that's a great point. I mean, realistically, Adam and I can sit here and talk about all of this, but I think we all know, I'm just going to throw out a number. 98% of this is whether or not you have a great chef and a great team taking care of your students and providing great quality services. So how foolish of us would it be to come in and do anything that would affect what that chef does for all you partners out there? We are absolutely committed to continue to give all the support and resources your team needs to make sure that you and your students are seeing the same quality of services. Again, the only thing I would want to say would be different would be that, hey, we have 5 more partners on that campus. So we have an extra traveling chef that's based right there that is able to come in and help out if your chef is sick or rolls their ankle, something like that. We don't want to change anything that your team sees for your chapter at all, except for the fact that they have some additional resources due to this new partnership.
Yeah.
And what,
I think our goal at the
Yeah.
unit, so we call it like, if your chapter house, if we said like that's the unit level, right? Like down at the individual fraternity or sorority. The goal here, we have no plans to make changes at that level of
Yep.
the operation, right? Our goal is just to increase support in
Yep.
that area. So to your point, we want to have more management, right? We want to have more campus managers. We want to have more traveling chefs.
Yep.
We want to have more ways to support. We want to be working as a group together to reduce the cost of health insurance benefits, right? Because we have a larger group now. We want to work because now we have a safety and sanitation department to be able to reduce workers' comp accidents and things like that happen in the kitchens. We want to be able to provide resources. We want to give them more access to more menu databases so that they can be more creative with menus and talk with these thousands of other chefs we have now across the country, right? Creating a network for them to be able to do that. So at the unit level, we're really focused on how can we increase resources for your chef, and we are not at all interested in taking things away.
Yep.
So you won't see us changing pay, right? Changing schedules, messing with things at the unit. That's just not something that is in
I
our
think that'd be
business plan
the
at all.
silliest thing we could possibly do. That's gonna directly affect the people that are making decisions about what's happening in their kitchens. And I'm just happy to hear you say that. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. How do you plan to address chapters that left upper crust due to bad experiences for College Fresh and now feel like they're going back to that?
Yeah, it's a hard thing to say or answer just in a webinar like this. So much of this, it feels like we just have to show, right? And I don't want to say like Upper Crust is the only one that ever had provided bad experiences. College Fresh, there might be people on this call that had worked with us and are now with Upper Crust, or worked with me and are now with one of our other competitors. So I definitely don't want to make this sound like I'm just coming out throwing Upper Crust under the bus. But I think the key to remember is that if you were with Upper Crust and are now working with College Fresh, as we've said from the get-go, is who you're working with and communicating with and your team, that's not going to change. And their processes that we have put together with College Fresh, that's not going to change. Again, kind of back to that last question, what we want to do at the individual kitchen level is continue to support and maintain that. We don't want to change anything that affects the quality and the style of services that you're seeing. If there were issues in the past that had happened with Upper Crust and or College Fresh, we want to be addressing those. We want to address it from a performance level. Is it a policy or process level? We want to know all those details so that we can make sure we are correcting those issues. I would never sit up here and say that we're going to be perfect. I would just say that I want to continue to support the industry and respond the way that we always have, and that Adam has been nothing but supportive in my wanting to do so.
And I wonder if that's a good time for us to like at least let people know sort of what our roles are
Perfect,
primarily going to be moving forward. Because I think
Please,
there can be some confusion of like, what is the difference between a CEO and a president? And how is this whole thing going to work? And so I think that this would be a good time for us to kind of just chat through that. And so from a CEO's perspective, the way I view my job moving forward, first of all, I'm so excited to have Jack on board because we've got a great team, but this gives me somebody who has grown a really great business as an owner, as a partner of mine now,
Yep.
right? And so to be able to have that, to be able to have conversations and get on the phone, and we're on the phone constantly all day long talking about stuff, strategizing about things. So I've already been able to learn some wonderful things from him. I hope that he'll be able to learn some things from me, and it'll kind of be this great back and forth relationship. But when it comes to my role as the CEO, it's really going to be focused on more on the business side of Upper Crust, making sure that everything in the operations of Upper Crust happens the way that it should, right?
Yep.
Being strategic about what does the future look like, making sure that we're prepared for things that are coming down the pipeline in the industry, so that way my goal is to free Jack up. So as president of the company, he can go out and operate the day-to-day operations and be in charge of the way that our customers and our partners, the relationship with them,
Yep.
right? Sort of that day-to-day relationship.
My job
our
is
service levels are where they're at.
to take these four wonderful groups, to find a culture that fits in the middle, right? And to grow that in a way that takes care of our partners. My job is to make sure that our students and our partners across the country are happy with Upper Crust Food Service. And that works through operations, it works through client success, it works through marketing, it works through our accounting team, that we as an organization are responsive to the needs of our chapters that we serve across the country. That is my job.
Yeah.
And Adam's job is to support me in that, basically.
And I think the thing that I want everyone to hear and I'm going to say it again and again, is that Jack has my full support
Yep.
in this. And so if you don't hear anything else today, I want you to hear that we identified a need for somebody like Jack in our organization. And that's why this deal worked so well, is we were able to put this together. And so he has my full support in the initiatives that we have going out in operations and client success. And so I'm really excited about what the future holds there.
Thanks. Maggie said we got a few more questions.
We've got a lot of questions,
Sure.
so.
I think that, we'll obviously go till 1 o'clock today, but if we miss any again, we'll do another one of these soon.
Yeah.
Or Meg, maybe you can take some of those questions and we can do kind of a follow-up message or something. Cool.
Will previous contracts that started before the merger and end after be honored with no charge?
Yeah, I mean, the main point there is that yes, absolutely all contracts will be honored, right? We're not going to change anything. There's not going to be any additional fees or anything else. If your language was with College Fresh, those terms are going to be the same. Adam has said that to me from the beginning. So we don't want to come in and, again, that would just seem like a silly thing to me, because I know if I went to a great partner, I was just talking with someone about Arkansas this morning, and I hope she's on here and wouldn't mind, but my friend Kathy in Fayetteville, if I was talking with her about contract terms, and then I came to her in May and said, hey, we're going to change these terms, she's going to say, okay, Jack, see you later. Right. So that would just be the silliest thing in the world for me to try to do. I would never want to do that anyway. Now, we may change the wording from College Fresh to Upper Crust in the future, but all terminology, all language that we've used, will make sure that all of our partners are still familiar with it and comfortable with it. So
Yeah.
no tricks, no contractual tricks. We want to make sure that y'all are happy with what you're seeing out there.
I think some of the misconceptions we're hearing are that, it's been really interesting for me to watch 4 different companies operate kind of from above, because we each had the same goal, right? Which was great customer service, put out great food, keep customers happy. But each of us got there a little bit different path, right? And so it doesn't make any of these paths necessarily wrong. And what I want everyone to know is that if you are comfortable with a contract that doesn't auto renew, that's totally fine with us. We have no problem with that, right? If you are comfortable with certain language that's in your contract today that allows you flexibility on when you can terminate your contract, that's fine with us. That doesn't bother us, and that will continue. So if you hear from somebody out there that tells you that that's not the case, that you're going to be forced into clauses that you're unhappy with, just know straight from Jack and I that that's not true.
Yep.
And we're not going to do that. And so we're going to work with you as we have future iterations of the contract, just to make sure that you're super comfortable and make sure that we're continuing to streamline the business.
All right, here we go. Speaking of that buying power, how many campuses accounts do you have now that this acquisition has occurred?
Great question. Adam, you might know more of the overall details than I would.
Yeah, so we're somewhere near 650, 700 accounts, somewhere in there, depending on whether you count drop what we call drop accounts or catering accounts versus accounts that are
Chef in-house.
chef in-house.
Yep.
But I think what's really interesting is that we have a network now that far exceeds what anybody else can offer. And what makes that really cool is that we actually can provide better service by having more accounts, which I know this sounds a little counterintuitive, so let me explain it. We can actually provide better service because of the density that we now have.
Yep.
So going into next year, we are going to have over 50 campuses across the country
That's
that are
really
going
cool.
to have a dedicated regional manager, campus manager that lives right there in town,
Yep.
right? That's not assigned to a house, that's able to go around and check on everybody, make sure everything's okay. Guys, the reality is that if any of our competitors hired 50 of those positions, they would have to raise their price so dramatically that it wouldn't be affordable. And frankly, they just couldn't do it. And so this density is just something that we really want to key on, because even though we're larger, our managers are actually going to be managing less accounts.
Yep.
So what we're doing is we're taking
More service,
Yeah.
more responsiveness.
We're taking an area where they used to, let's say, have to cover multiple campuses or multiple states. And we're now saying to them, hey, you can actually have less accounts in a smaller geographic area. You don't have to spend the night in the hotel. You don't have to be away from your family. You're going to be able to manage these. You're going to be able to build stronger relationships. You're going to be able to respond quicker. So for accounts out here, you're not going to be waiting for a traveling chef to be flying across the country and show up 3 days later.
Yep.
We're going to have these people on the ground for you. And so I think that is something that, regardless of the amount of accounts that we get, the more that we grow, I think the better service that we can actually give people
Yep.
on the ground level.
Absolutely.
Great. Kind of in that same vein of the number of accounts now, in a free market capitalistic economy, one of the main guardrails that serves as a checks and balances as competition.
Yeah.
These three acquisitions that I'm aware of, it seems that your company has eliminated competition in many markets. What are the guardrails to protect customers from a monopolistic position as far as quality, cost, employee satisfaction, and service?
That is a really great, heavy question there.
Yes.
I think I would want to start by saying we have no misillusions that there is not a number of really solid competitors in this industry. And frankly, they're out there controlling this message a lot better than I have over the last few weeks. I can count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 off the top of my head that I know are operating at a national level. We would want you all to know that we know they're there, and I hope that you all do know they're there. Adam and I certainly thought this was a great opportunity in terms of what we can deliver to the market. And, to respond to that question is we hope that we do bring more value and opportunities for the industry and for Greek life with this partnership. But we also know at the same time, if we don't deliver, then this falls flat on its face, and that there are competitors just waiting for that to happen. I can say that because I had that same approach last year when I said that I would never work with Upper Crust if they were working to do this. So I think the main thing there for me is that we genuinely believe that there are a lot of great competitors out there, and that if we don't do well for you, we know you're going to go in a different direction.
I think that also there's a level of responsibility that comes from the growth that we've had. And I want everyone to know that we take that responsibility really, really seriously. All right. And we are not looking at this. I know that one of the misconceptions that I think we want to clear up on this is that we're growing only because we're trying to make more bottom line profit, that our goal is to, we actually had, an email that was exchanged with one of our competitors where they said, well, there's no way that you can have an investment firm involved and not reduce the quality of the food that you're putting out because they want to make more money. They want to make more profit. And so I'm going to pull back the veil real quick on just a specific example. And there's hundreds of these types of examples, but I think this is important for you to understand how we think about this. Let's take the idea of density. All right. So this idea of density and the fact that we have so many more managers all over the country. All right. That actually will reduce our costs because it's going to reduce our travel costs, right? So travel is one of our biggest line
I
items.
should jump in and say that
Sure.
if all we did in this partnership was reduce the amount of that College Fresh spent on travel, because when I go back and talk about talking with supporting our partners and responding to our partners, so much of that was just getting a person there, right? I can tell you, hey, here's our plan, here's what we're going to do, but if I don't get the kitchen to do great work, then that's all just talk, right?
Right.
So just reducing the travel cost of College Fresh alone probably makes this thing worthwhile. So
Exactly.
to touch on that for you.
Yeah, and so that's just an example, right? So what happens in that particular density situation? We are able to reduce our costs as a company. So it is true. Do we make a little bit more money because we have more management, because we have more infrastructure? Yes, we do. But at the same time, our customers are benefiting, right? Our partners are benefiting at the same time
Yep.
because they're getting a higher level of service. They're getting people that are closer to their accounts to be able to help. And so we've identified literally hundreds of those types of win-wins that happen. And that's what we're focused on, right? We're not focused on driving our price up. We're not focused on lowering quality. We're not focused on creating an environment where our chefs don't feel loved and don't feel like they want to work for us. We're doing the exact opposite. We want a company where we want to not only be the industry leaders because we bought these companies, we want to be the industry leader because people want to work with us. People want to work for us. That's really where our passion is and where our conversations are right now.
Yep.
So I hope that everybody hears that from us as being sincere
Yep.
because that really is.
I mean, I said to you when we first started having this conversation, I just kind of felt like I was too stubborn and too happy with where we were at College Fresh to ever even entertain something like this. Because I like going into kitchens and being proud about what I'm doing and knowing I can change it if it's not. And again, Adam has just been 100% supportive of me and where I want to take this thing operating on a day-to-day basis. So I just can't say enough how committed we are to, again, just being happy and being proud about what we're doing out there.
Great. So there is a lot of questions about budgets and contracts right now,
Okay.
obviously.
Yeah, sure.
So you said that you won't raise prices next year, but food prices will continue to rise.
Yeah.
How do we make sure we can continue to serve fresh food to our women? My concern is that there'll be less fresh fruits and vegetables and changes in meat quality. What is your commitment to staying fresh?
Well, I think to just respond to that specific question, my commitment is that there won't be less fresh fruits and vegetables and commitment to the same quality of food products. We are going to be using the same exact purveyor that College Fresh has been using for years. Across the board, I'll just say that US Foods, Cisco, Gordon's Food Service, Performance Food Group, all of those big groups, they're all exactly the same. They're literally buying the same products from the same places, putting them in different boxes. There are some specialty like pre-made products that they do that other competitors won't. That's not the kind of stuff we want to serve. It's not the kind of stuff we want our chefs using. Um, what has really made a difference for me in the past is when those groups respond, or if they have a local salesperson or something like that, that would be working with us. But we have always found US Foods to be the more responsive of those groups. I know that us, Upper Crust, Greek House Chefs, we were all using this group. What was the name? You know the name of these programs better than I do.
So the premier.
Premier food groups. We're all buying from that same group. We're not going to be changing that. That's going to be the group that we're using. I think where really it comes down to is I always thought College Fresh had they tell us we have the access to the best pricing that we could possibly get, with the exception of groups like McDonald's or Arby's or whatever, those groups that just buy billions and billions of dollars of food. But when I was able to go through this process and really dive deep into what Upper Crust numbers look like and what they spend on food and what their products look like, I mean, Adam was talking about your business experience, right, and your entrepreneurship, the numbers that they're paying for certain products it was just different. The same products, same quality at just better pricing because of what Adam had put together. So again, this only works if we're able to keep this responsiveness, keep the services out there, but again, hopefully provide more value based on what Adam and Upper Crust have brought to the table. So that is the main thing I see in how we're able to say it. We don't have to do 3, 4, 5, 6% increases next year for the College Fresh partners, because what Upper Crust is bringing to College Fresh is that we're going to be saving money. So for the College Fresh partners coming over, there is going to look like that savings that allows us to keep the same quality, same products out there without having to raise the prices. So I hope that answered it. Again, if there's any other specifics I can get into, I'd love to go deeper offline too. So
Speaking of contracts,
Yep.
in my knowledge, Fresh contracts were in place for a year.
Yep.
And Upper Crust contracts included auto renewal clauses, which will be used in future contracts.
Okay, so the first part to touch on there is that they will not be used with the College Fresh contracts that are already in place, right? Frankly, from like an administrative standpoint, I do love the idea of not having to have all those contract conversations. I would never push that because that's something I was kind of sold against Upper Crust on. I was like, no, we're never going to do that, right? And that promise is still there for all of our College Fresh partners. If there's anybody that doesn't care and like wants a reminder, hey, a month in advance, sure, we can go in that direction. But for our College Fresh partners that don't want that, we will never do that. You're going to have your College Fresh language in there that we're going to have these conversations every single year. They're going to be 1-month contracts. That's about as clear as I can say it, Meg. Again, I know that this is one of those things that we just have to prove over time. It's easy for me to say it, but you all will see that when we get to contract season. So I don't know if I touched on all things for you there, Adam, or not. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think you hit it. I think that we just want to make sure that if you hear that Upper Crust has some evil plan to change you and convert you into a different contract,
Yeah.
that is not the case. And we're going to be very transparent. And if you receive something from us and you have a question, right? If Jack's team sends you your renewal contract and you have a question or something looks like it might have changed, just ask us, because we're definitely not attempting to do anything that would make you feel uncomfortable at all.
Yep.
I want you to keep in mind, we bought College Fresh happy with the way that they ran the business.
Yep.
And so we don't have any reason to go in and make changes, because we knew that that's what it was when we bought it. And so I think especially with Jack now being an owner here,
Yep.
we want to honor that tradition and legacy.
Yep. And we're going to be, College Fresh has already started our contracting process. If we reach out this time of year and say, hey, we'd love to start these conversations. So as we're getting into that, if you have any questions, please let us know. But our team will absolutely be reaching out to you. We're comfortable to work on either side with either name for this upcoming year. Just let us know what you'd like to see. We'll be happy to accommodate.
Great. Will this acquisition open up more new partnerships for our partner, new vendors, new resources for our partners?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go to Adam on the more detail, but absolutely. I think we want to keep bringing new ideas and opportunities to our partners across the country. If we just sit ho hum and think about, oh, we're pretty good here now, I don't think either one of us are doing our job for our partners out there. So to continue to look at, hey, what are other cool things that we can bring to our partners? That is the resources that we have. And again, I don't want to, we have really good competitors who are always thinking, trying to do better as well. But the resources that we have, I think, allows us to bring newer ideas, newer technologies, newer flexibility to this space a little quicker than some others could.
Well, just imagine if there's a specialty vendor, let's say um, outside of our normal primary vendor. We're now in a position with the density that we have to be able to negotiate with that person to say, hey, we need service on all of these campuses, right? For
Yep.
this particular new service. And the other thing I would mention is that we have a lot of pull now with our broadline distributors. And so one of the things our procurement department can do is, we have a lot of houses where it just doesn't work for the house to have a US Foods truck there at the wrong time of the day,
Yep.
right? And so we have a lot of pull now because of the amount of accounts we have to say, no, we want a delivery window in the morning. We want a delivery window in the afternoon.
A lot of times that they would come to us or we would go to them and they wouldn't do much for College Fresh.
Right.
But now when our team is going to it with Upper Crust, it is a different response. I don't want to like bash on any of the bigger groups, but there is a different response when our team pushes.
There is.
Yeah.
There is. So, and we're going to use that to our advantage to make sure that we give you the best service that we possibly can when it comes to vendors.
Okay, I want to jump over really quick to our employees
Okay.
and then we'll go back to budgets again, because I know
Okay.
budgets are a big concern right
Sure.
now for everybody. Will there be management training on a regular basis?
Has to be. Yeah. So that, I mean, yeah, there absolutely has to be. There has to be good training as teammates come on board, as positions and regions shift, but you have to continue those processes. Most of the stuff that you train, if you just do it once, it's in one ear and out the other as soon as the day gets busy. And I think one of the really cool things that I've respected as I've got into this product, Chef Jacob, who leads training for Upper Crust, I've just seen someone who really cares, who's involved. He was an assistant chef, then a chef. And so he's been there and he's done it and he knows what our teammates coming on board need to see. And then the College Fresh team merging with Chef Jacob and the Upper Crust training team. There's more resources and more people that care about what they're doing now than I've ever seen in that department. And it's just something we're really excited about. So short answer is yes, there has to be continuing training.
There's some really exciting stuff happening too. Like we're going to have ongoing training. So that's another thing. It was a great point because a great question is that we now have the resources to be able to have these really robust departments where it might have used to have been like one person, right, running this department.
Yeah.
You now have like a team of people, right, that come from different backgrounds and different companies and different experiences. And so we're really excited. We're also going to bring all of our staff, all of our managers together. We do a big management training in May, right, where we're going to kind of kick off all these new ideas for next school year, all these exciting things that you're going to see and change, when I say change, I don't mean change in a negative way, but like these good changes. So like increased levels of safety and sanitation department, right? Where we're doing our own audits on accounts and increasing training modules and, all these different things that we're going to be rolling out that, yes, they are change, but we believe they're really positive change. So we'll be doing a great training that's a week-long training coming up this May. And so that's just one thing that, that costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of resources to be able to do those things. And so for us to be able to have awesome partners like we have on this call that allow us to be able to grow our company to now provide that sort of like enterprise level training, as opposed to trying to do this on like a one-off basis, I think we're really going to start seeing the results in the field.
We want our partners and our teams out there to see consistency. That's one of the benefits of having more resources without everything you hear about big companies being slow to respond, not working, not being flexible. Like that's my job, is to ensure that we have all the flexibility and responsiveness, but that our partners are able to benefit from these awesome resources that we've got out there.
Yeah, so, great point.
Great question.
How will the merger affect your regional and campus managers when you have existing employees from both companies?
Yeah, it's a great question. You want me to just jump in on that? I mean, the blunt or direct answer is that those that buy into what we're trying to do, that want to take care of our partners, that will support our chefs, those managers are going to be there with us. Whether or not it's there's a regional manager and a campus manager there, or we've got a couple campuses now. I'll just use the University of Alabama, if that's okay, where Upper Crust has a manager and College Fresh has a manager. And now combined, we're going to have 25 partners. I don't think it's possible for one person on one campus to manage all of those partners we've got. So we've even talked about, hey, what we're going to be doing at the University of Alabama next year is Jason Bean, our wonderful regional manager, is going to manage the College Fresh accounts. And the College Fresh manager there is going to, sorry, Upper Crust manager there is going to manage the Upper Crust accounts. So there's always going to be room for great managers who care about what they do, who care about the quality of service that we're providing to work at Upper Crust. There's, as Adam talked about earlier, in those spots where, you know, hey, we've got a great manager at Illinois, and maybe Upper Crust had one who is in Indiana managing Illinois. I'm just making this stuff up. This is not specific to that. Maybe that Upper Crust person doesn't have to go to another state now. So we're able to, there's enough resources on that campus for that manager to just stay there and manage that campus. But again, the shorter answer is Adam has told me a couple times when they bought College Fresh and I bought in to Upper Crust, didn't just buy the partnerships and the contracts, bought a lot of really great people out there that really care about what they're doing, because we can't do this without them. So I wish I could say specifically, here's what yours is going to look like right now, but honestly, we haven't even got all the way through that.
Yeah.
The shorter answer is we're going to keep all the really great managers that there are. It'd just be crazy for us to move anywhere else but that direction.
So in that same vein,
Yeah.
one of the rumors is more management will mean more micromanaging, i.e.
Yeah.
menu changes at the last minute, et cetera. How does this affect our chefs?
Yeah, I would tell you to all the College Fresh partners that have heard those rumors, it's just not true. Your chef is still going to write your menus based on the feedback that you're having from the student leadership and yourself. Hopefully, you're having those weekly meetings out there. If not, shame on us for not pushing that out there. But your chef's going to write your menus. They're going to place their orders for that. Again, our team is always there to help out if they have any questions or products they don't like. But there's none of this stuff that I've heard about where an Upper Crust person is going to come in and look at your order and cancel that order or cancel this product. It's just not going to happen for you. It's not happening right now with us, and it's not going to happen for you next year. You know, I hate that rumor is out there. And you know, if there's any specific situations that you want to talk about with me after the fact, again, I'd be happy to go into that, Meg. But
And I think one thing to realize too, and these are great questions, but I want everyone, I hope that you can hear the sincerity from Jack and I as we're basically responding to what are basically just rumors.
Yeah.
And it's really easy from a competitive standpoint to go out and say whatever you want to say, right,
Yep.
about a competitor. And when we're making moves like acquisitions, it's easy for people to believe those, right? And so it doesn't make any of these questions invalid. We want to answer those. That's the reason we're doing this today,
Yep.
all about this transparency. But what we want you to realize is when you hear something, if it doesn't sound like the tone that you're hearing from Jack and I today about how we want to run this company,
Yeah.
we want you to question it, right? We want you to pick up the phone, call us, text us, email us.
Yep.
Whatever you want to do, because we want to set the record straight right away with you, because it's really, you know, it's a little bit unfair what's happening right now in the market, right? That people are able to just say whatever they want. And so we want to make sure that we're as transparent as we can be so that you have the answers that you need.
I would, you know, it's coming from someone who has been on both sides of this now. I don't also want to make it sound like we believe anybody's doing it maliciously out there, because I had been on that position, right? And I had heard these things. So you know, whatever it is, now looking back at it, I had said the same things because I genuinely thought they were true. So one thing I've been trying to do with our competitors who we have really solid relationships with is just to make sure that I don't believe that is true. And having experience working now on this side, and also something Adam reminded me of is when I'm feeling frustrated about like, gosh, like how else could I deliver this message? I just want to make sure people believe us, everything. Adam reminded me that we also put our competitors and our partners in a position to ask these questions, to say these things, right? Because we created this with this partnership. So I don't want it to sound as if we're like ungrateful or like being spiteful about it or anything. We're just trying to make sure we're sharing our side of the story too, and hope that over time, as we get to work with each other, that you guys will get to see that from our side too. And again, all this is just talk right now. This is the easy part, just to show you all here as we move into next school year. So,
Right, I just want to be cognizant of everyone's time.
yep,
It
got
is,
10 minutes left.
12:50, and please know that we will answer everybody's question.
Absolutely.
Is not live to make sure these.
If we don't get to it, it's Megan's fault. Sorry, everybody.
And they will, if you're an anonymous, if you've asked a question anonymously, we'll send out an email answering
Sure.
the question after this. So let's see here. I kind of want to shift now back to budgets.
Okay.
The House directors at Florida State are concerned that food prices have gone up, and you're saying you're not raising the prices of our contracts.
Sure.
Our chefs are maxing out their budgets presently, so how are they going to offer the same quality of meals with an outdated budget?
Yeah, so the first thing I'd go to there is something I've always talked to our partners about. And I have one really great partner there specifically where her and I have talked every year about she thinks we should increase the budget, which is honestly, I don't hear that too often from our partners. So that was great. I love having those conversations. The first thing I'd say is we will absolutely put together a budget that we think your chef team can be successful with, right? The next thing I'd say is if we put together a budget that is too low and you're dissatisfied with your services, that's on us. That we have never been the group, and I know there have been groups out there that have gone back and tried to propose increased pricing. I don't think you guys have Upper Crust have ever done this.
No.
Even a couple of years ago when inflation was up at like 12%, College Fresh never went to a partner and said, hey, we're spending too much money on food. We didn't put our budget in the right place. We're going to have to increase your budget. That's just something we take on our end. We're going to do everything we have to do to continue to provide great services for you in the chapter. And if we take it on the shin for a semester because we didn't properly account for it, then we will address that on our own. But if you tell us, hey, we need more berries, then I'm going to have a conversation with you about how we get you more berries or fresh fruit or the same quality, high quality products. That is on us as a business to make sure that we are delivering the quality of services and products that you want to see. And I would never want any of our partners worrying about budget because that's what you're contracting us to provide. So that's kind of my general thoughts on budget. Again, I don't know if there's anything you wanted else.
Well, I just think that what you've hit on in this question is a great question, but what you've hit on is the power of being partnered with an organization like Upper Crust.
Yeah.
Because you're right. It doesn't make sense on paper that we could do what we've offered to do for next year. But the reality is because we brought these two companies together, because we have better buying power to get not lesser quality ingredients, the same exact ingredients, the same fresh foods
from the same exact purveyors,
the exact same labels and purveyors and trucks, right, that you've had in the past. Because we can do that, we're passing that on with you. We're sharing that with you, right? And so I think this kind of goes back to the question before about sort of, are you trying to create this monopoly where you can control the market? No, I mean, if we were doing that, we'd be raising prices, right? We'd be continuing to do the things we had to do when we were independent. And instead, we're saying to the market, no, we want this to be a win-win for everybody, right? And so I think your question is actually such a benefit, right? Of being part of this new Upper Crust combined with College Fresh.
And just the way that our contracts work is it's one cost. It's transparent, right? We're moving to this, everything's included, where all of our partners know exactly what the costs are. There's not this contract where, hey, if prices go up, your contract goes up. We are going to take care of those for you. So I just want to send a shout out to my friend Carolyn in Tallahassee. Been a great supporter and a great partner for a long time. Her and I have had a lot of conversations over the years about what those budgets need to look like. And she's just been allowing us to understand what those needs are. And I just want to say thank you, Carolyn, for all the time. Yeah.
How do you recommend situations in which College Fresh chefs are indicating to our chapters that they don't want to work for Upper Crust?
Sure. I actually had a few of those, a great organizational partner. And this, I think, just goes back to like I don't want to say vitriol, the information that's out there. A very good partner that I worked with for a long time shared as we're kind of going through contracts for next year that there's 3 chefs on different campuses who have shared for one reason or another that they have heard that they do not want to work for Upper Crust. And she's looking at this from a really great perspective. And she was able to say like, hey, we want to keep working here if this chef is happy. Can you just talk and make sure? So our director of operations and our associate director of operations reached out to all of them and said, hey, this is just what we heard from the partners. Are you feeling frustrated about this? And every single one of them came back to us and said, yeah, I was feeling a little frustrated at first. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I was nervous, didn't know what this means for me, which is totally valid and understandable. But as our managers have been able to speak with them, talk to them about what next year looks like, reaffirming for them that, yeah, we are going to do our performance evaluations and yearly increases with them like we always have, that their compensation is not going to get cut, that the benefits are still going to be there, all that stuff that they've always known with us. They come back and say, yeah, I'm fine now. And all 3 of these that we have talked to just in the last, I think, 3 days, all came back and said, no, we're good. As long as you're here as a manager supporting me, we're happy to know that Jack's on board as well. I toot my own horn a little bit. They're pleased with that. I guess the short answer to specifically answer this question is please let us know. We'd be happy to talk to them and hear their concerns. all we would want to do is the same thing we're doing now, just give you honest information and hope that we can make them feel comfortable. We can't force anybody to work anybody anywhere they don't want to. We'd be happy to just talk to them and make sure they have all the information they need to make an educated decision.
No, absolutely.
Okay, great. Got 5 minutes left, so I'm gonna get into
Sure.
uh, another. Okay, I work at an SEC institution,
Okay.
and we are anticipating a large influx of members next year.
Okay.
How does your team anticipate being able to keep up with the increased number of members on the meal plan?
Yeah.
Our dining team has not been able to keep up with replenishing food this semester.
Okay. I think that goes down to communication. There's no magic button for that. It's the same thing I would say if we have like special dietary issues and someone asks, how do you do this? Well, there's no easy button to hit. We have to be communicating with our partners. We have to understand what the demands are going to look like for next year. So as we're having these contract conversations, we're talking about, hey, what does membership look like? Do we need to look at any changes for the meal plan? Do we need to add extra meal times? Do we need to be more flexible with services? What do we have to do? And that needs to be a conversation we have together with you. That's not something where upper crust can just come in and say, hey, we're going to do this. It is not a one size fits all. I just want to reiterate that that's not how we look at this too. So to me, the short answer is communication between our team and your team about what that looks like for next fall. I don't know if you had anything to add.
No, I agree with that. I think that's also a great opportunity for us to bring the talents of the two companies together to help solve that problem, because I don't know if this question came from an Upper Crust or a College Fresh
Yeah, it's a good point.
account, but we can look at this across the company lines here a little bit and say, okay, if this was an Upper Crust account asking this question, what can the College Fresh folks on the ground in that community help us with? If this is a College Fresh account asking this question, how can the Upper Crust management that's in that area show, help assist that chef to be able to give them the resources that they need to be able to make sure that we don't run out of food, because the reality is that that's a trend, right? Especially in the SEC. We're going to continue to see rising numbers, right? And sometimes we have to get creative because sometimes the kitchens haven't even been built for the rising numbers.
Yep.
So we have to be really good partners with you in communicating what the kitchen needs are and how we can adjust service and make sure that this all works. So just know that we want you to communicate with us, and we're committed to making sure that this is not an ongoing problem.
Yeah, two things there. One, that's what I like to call one of those good problems, right? I'd much rather have us be talking about there's too many people coming in than not enough. And it just goes back to like, we can't just sit here and rest on our laurels. We have to continue to push to see what we can do better. And it just comes down to our team just continuing to investigate, research, and work with our partners. So.
Right. Just to reiterate, Jack, it is College Fresh 25-26 contracts accurate, or will we be given a new agreement?
For those that already have a 25-26 contract signed?
25-26 contract accurate.
I'd say, again, we talked about how College Fresh coming in to Upper Crust, we were able to do some savings. So if we had a contract where there was like a 2 or 3% increase, maybe we need to go back and have a conversation about adjusting that down. Adam might smack me for saying that later, but the other thing I would say, yes. I mean, short answer is they are accurate. They are still legal, good, whatever the legal mumbo jumbo is there. But if you want to have a conversation about adjusting anything, just reach out to me or your team. We're happy to have those conversations. But they're legitimate unless you want to have a different conversation.
Yeah, and legally, College Fresh still exists. So College Fresh didn't go away. It's just wholly owned by Upper Crust Food Service now and by Jack and I. And so it didn't go away. So your contracts are still valid and still in place.
Okay. I really want to be respectful of everybody's time at one, Meg. Do we want to do one more question?
For both of you to talk on the brand, please, and if how the logo's changing, how our tagline's changing.
Cool.
And
can I just talk about the at your service thing really quick?
Do it.
We worked with a group called Surface 51 out of Champaign, my hometown. And as you know, when we first started, our website was like a simple page that my former boss, Russ, what's up, Russ? I hope you're watching somewhere, put together. And it was just terrible. It was like 4 paragraphs of words and that was it. So we worked with this group to like, how do we make this more appealing? How do we market this a little bit better? Because that was never one of my strengths. And basically, they just followed us around for a few days. They wanted to learn more about us, how they could market us better. And they came up with a few of these taglines. And I heard a couple once and twice, and we had a meeting once, and they proposed at your service. And it just hit me kind of right in the feelings, gave me goosebumps right away. And we put it on there, and I never wanted to see it go away. And as we had this conversation, I think that's one thing you really liked too. At your service, that's what we are. We're here to respond and take care of you. So I was really excited, and it was kind of touching for Adam to include that on there for us, that we're looking like hey, that upper crust at your service now here is kind of the logo of the future, if that's
right.
accurate too.
Yeah, and I hope that shows you once again us putting our money where our mouth is, right, on this and saying, hey, we are recommitting to this level of service that we know that all of our customers want, desire, and need from us at Upper Crust. And so bringing Jack in, having him involved in that process has been great so far. And we have so many ideas. We have so many great things that we're rolling out for next school year as a combined company. And we hope that you seeing this Upper Crust at your service is just reiterates to you our commitment to that level of service that we're looking to provide now and into the future.
Meg, before we get to any kind of closing thoughts on your end, I wanted to remind everybody that, again, we are going to do some more of these podcasts here as we move forward to the end of the semester and through the summer. Looking forward to answering more questions. Again, if you have submitted any questions that we haven't got to yet, Meg will be collecting those, and we'll be doing our best to get that information out to all of our partners. The other thing I'd say is if anybody watching here is associated with any specific chapter or any specific organization, and you want us to come in and chat with you, your organization, or your chapter, myself and our client success team would welcome an opportunity anytime to speak individually with you, your team, whatever level of partnership you want us to be involved with. I think that, again, these, I hope, can give you some kind of baseline understandings. But if there's a way we can make a specific connection with each of you and your chapters, we would love to do that too. So feel free to reach out to either Megan or myself if you want to start to look at one of those. And just thank you sincerely for coming on today and asking these questions that allow us to hopefully share some information with y'all.
Now, when we do this podcast, I have a question.
Is this a cheesy joke coming
No,
out
if
here?
we become
Okay.
famous from the podcast,
Okay.
I want to test your commitment.
Like the Kelsey brothers.
Yeah, yeah. If
Okay.
we become the Kelsey brothers and this thing just takes off,
Yeah.
and we've got all these, people watching our podcast.
Yeah.
Are you still going to have a commitment to maintain your position as president of Upper Crust Food Service, even if you become
100 millionaire
famous?
like the Kelseys?
Yeah.
My initial reaction was no, but it's kind of like him playing in the NFL. If I wasn't working here with you guys, I wouldn't have the content to be able to share with you guys. So no is my short answer. If I make $100 million, I'm out. Peace out, everybody. But no, thank you, Adam, and thank you guys. Meg, how do we close this out?
You're good.
Okay,
You did it.
awesome.
So thank you guys so much. We're so excited about this new partnership, and all jokes aside,
Yep.
Jack's not going anywhere.
Nope.
He's an owner here, and I'm so excited to have him as a business partner. And so we're really looking forward to the future and what we can do together. So thank you all for joining us. We will send this out as a video, and we'll also follow up with any unanswered questions.
Yeah,
So
you're all stuck with me.
thanks for joining us today.
Bye.